Welcome to Confessions Beyond the Food. I'm your host, Nancy Ridlen. Let's dig in and get inspired.
Okay, guys, so we have a mannequin in the studio in our showroom, and he is such a creeper. I mean, we have moved him. Tracy just moved him all over the place, and there's his arm. She took his arm off. So, anyways, enough of you, John. Thank you guys so much for coming back to Confessions Beyond the Food.
So, welcome back to part 2 of Confessions Beyond the Food. If you missed part 1, it talks about Nancy's journey from sales and how that evolved into eventually starting her own company. And that's kind of where we left off at the end of the last one. And I'm out of breath from moving the mannequin.
And we've had a day today.
Yeah.
So we are coming as we are after like crazy week. So
yeah. So let's get back into kind of the rest of your story. And where we left off is you had 2 twin little boys, babies. And you said, I've made a decision to start my own business. And I'm sure that was like a leap of faith and a lot of, thought and everything went into that. So I guess I just want to know at this point, how did you start your business plan? How did you go about your first steps and getting going?
Yeah. So, just thinking back to that time of when I just had twins, because on the personal side, I had a big struggle with my pregnancy, and that's a whole nother story. But and just never being a parent before and having twins and thinking about this major life change, it was a lot. But when I was with the babies, as many people know me, my brain just never stops moving. And that's one thing that actually helps me deal with a lot of other things going on health-wise. But like it was just such it was just churning through my brain after the thought went into it. And I talked to one of my colleagues that I'd worked with before at my job, and we had always kind of talked about what if. And then we talked to one of our other friends that was in the industry, and she had an incredible background, an incredible career, and she wanted to come alongside us. And that was so cool. So that's kind of what, it was 3 women, and, all of us had really good jobs. And so it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like this just feels like something we needed to do.
So let me ask you, 3 women. So is that where the name W3 came from?
Yes.
It began as 3 women starting a business.
Yes.
It's evolved, but that was the beginning.
That was the beginning. And that's the question everybody asked me today. And that's how it began. And I can't take credit for it. I remember Mary Beth walking in and saying, she's like, W3, 3 women. And so I was like, that makes a ton of sense. So we are 3 women, and there's not, I didn't know, maybe there is, but I didn't think there was 3 other women that were doing what we were doing down in Texas and Oklahoma. So that's kind of where the name came from. And I mean, it just was really at that point, it was fun. And we sat down and we spent a lot of time just strategizing literally for a year over, is this something we really want to do? Like we're really going to follow through, like, and what, how we were going to put the business together, and where we saw it going, and what our 6-month plan looked like, what our 1-year plan looked like, what our 5-year plan, what our 10-year. And so just really just sitting back and dreaming. And so that's something I love to do, is dream, because I have lots of ideas. And so so that's what we started doing. And I took like an old idea like from 3rd grade. Do you remember those like spider, you would start with a central idea, and then you'd have the legs, and then you'd have the ideas around it? Did you?
Yes. I'm a little older than you, so it was probably something similar, but
Very
different. Yeah.
So yeah, on pen and paper, kids, we had pen and paper for those of you listening. And, but that's how and that's honestly, I sat down and we wrote the central idea of W3 and then just what were the major components that we were looking at. And we actually sat down with a good friend of mine, and, she's incredibly talented and she's so creative and gifted. Her name is Leanne, and her husband, and they were just like, hey, let's come alongside you and kind of put your ideas into imagery and into what you guys, want to accomplish. And that is how, Meet Bob came up. So
what does Meet Bob mean? What is that?
So Meet Bob is our infamous little video and that we made back in 2014.
And it is on the website.
On the website. So go meet him. And so listen, this is kind of funny. So we did the video, and it's kind of, Bob represents, what representation looked like at that time. And what representation, had been looking like forever.
Kind of the way things had always been done traditionally.
Yes, been done traditionally. And, they served us well. I mean, I have benefited from all the Bobs, and so, but it was kind of the old school way of just, going about it, with, meeting with distributors, going, kind of being reactive and, just kind of an old school way. And what was funny is for all of you out there, I just want to say I love Bob. My stepdad's name is Bob, and he was like, when I showed him the video, and I don't know why this clicked, and he was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I was like, I didn't think about that, but seriously, I love Bob. I love all the reps that I have worked with to date. I just had some ideas for a new way of representation, and what the three of us were like, we want a fresh approach to the market with different eyes, and it's not recreating the wheel. It was really just getting back to the basics of selling and, specifying, and also using platforms, that people, using social platforms and looking at things at different ways, basically.
So social in this industry wasn't really a thing. Even that, I mean, that few number of years ago, I mean, it was almost like a revolutionary thought. People thought you were a little bit out there, why would you do that? It didn't really make sense to a lot of people just because it was a new approach to the way things had been done before. So
yeah, we actually had an interview, and this guy had told us that he said, listen, that's a waste of time and resources. That shouldn't be such a big part of your business plan, because it was a third part of our business plan. And I was just kind of shocked by that, because back in 2014, everyone had phones, y'all. We all had phones. We all had social media. I don't know if you were on, Facebook back then, or what's that one before that? MySpace or whatever. No, it really was. I think Instagram was around too, but Instagram and Facebook, everybody's faces were in their phones. I mean, chefs were, our customers were, all the people we interact with. I mean, everybody is scrolling and looking, in their phones. And I said, why wouldn't this be something, our industry should embrace? Because, people are looking for new trends, new ideas. And, this didn't seem honestly really revolutionary to me. It just seems like, duh, we have to do this, and not only that, but, to establish an infrastructure, to go along with that, having a website, not starting out with just, nancyridlen@gmail.com, having, an actual, website, emails that were nancy@w3salesonline.com. I have tried to get w3sales.com, by the way, and they are charging way too much for that, PS. But, so it didn't seem like rocket science that we would set up a website, we would set up a brand, and we went out and did some research on logos, and we found the logo that really captured us at that time. And we loved it. And we wanted it to be fun. We wanted to be creative. We wanted all these things and to be a little cutting edge, almost like, I think we really like the West Elm vibe. And so that's kind of what we went for back then. It's changed since then. So, but just like really, tapping into, the technology side, and not just like from the outward, but also the inward. We invested in, just looking, we started with a, CRM system that connected with our quoting system. And, we wanted to invest initially and build our infrastructure.
Well, I think another big investment too that you did right off the bat was showrooms. Is that correct?
Yes.
Too?
Yes.
It's maybe something that doesn't always come right away at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you kind of took a chance or a leap with investing in that right off the bat too.
A big fat leap.
Yeah.
No, we didn't have any. We had a couple of factories that we're talking to. But y'all, I made less. I was paying to work my first year, and we had planned on that. But yeah, I thought it was really important to have a showroom, and that was the first thing that we really wanted to invest in, because if we don't have a space where people can come and see the products and see how they all work together, it was really difficult. So that was another big leap of faith, is, building that infrastructure. But, to be honest, like, we all put our money into this, like personal money. We had to get, a bank, we went to a bank, got our bank account set up. Like, there was a lot of other things that also went on behind the scenes, our accounting and, all of that. But just to set up a business that, and a business, it wasn't like it wasn't a limit, an LLC. It was, a corporation. And that's how we wanted to set it up.
So initially it was the three of you,
mm-hmm.
the three women,
mm-hmm.
and you were covering what scope of a territory at that point in time, and how were you able to do that with just three people?
Yeah, and very little children. So, so we initially all live in Dallas, and thankfully, what my partner wanted and her family wanted to move down to Austin. So that actually really worked out. And,
divide and
conquer. Mm-hmm. They've always wanted to live in Austin. So that was great. Well, that still leaves the rest of Texas and Oklahoma, guys. And for those of you who do not live here, this is a really big state. You can drive for like 15 hours and still be in Texas. And Oklahoma is also an awesome, territory as well. So we were like, okay, we really can't afford to hire anybody right now. And so what if we hire interns? And so that's how Feet on the Street kind of developed. Because we had just a couple of factories. So the demand wasn't as high in the beginning, but we still needed to cover these other markets. So we would go, and I would cover Houston and Oklahoma. But the day-to-day, like, because one of our big tenets was like, we want to be highly responsive. And so what we did was we set up this intern program. We beta tested it up in Oklahoma and OU, and the response we got was phenomenal. And because people had never heard about our industry, and we had, I think, like 25 applicants for it. And we, beta tested it up out of OU. I know your daughter was
My daughter was an intern.
Yeah, your daughter was an intern and from OU. And so we actually had great interns, and they would go and, drop off flyers and things like that. And that became our Feet on the Street program. So, which is still continued to this day. And it's evolved and changed over the years. But that was just a quick, easy way for us to make sure everyone had coverage and we could, support and do what we're going to say. I'm a big believer in, like, if someone says, like, hey, Nancy, I'm going to trust you with my factory, like, that's a big deal. And so my job is to make sure I'm honest and that and what my resources really are, what my relationships really are, and how many people I have. There's no like smoke and mirrors. That bothers the heck out of me because I just like to be truthful and upfront and have the right sort of infrastructure to be able to support factories.
Right. So once you kind of got that through that initial phase and started, being hired on by more factories and growing, then you had to at some point start looking at more staffing full-time people beyond the Feet on the Street program. Mm-hmm. So kind of how did that play out?
That's a really good question because that's honestly the secret to W3 sauce and is our people. Like our people make up W3 and honestly, I really wanted to bring in new people outside the industry. And the Feet on the Street program, same thing. That was the same concept. I wanted to show people what our industry was all about. And same thing and with that. And so I would have people just call me and say, hey, I know this person. I know that person. We actually hired one of our interns. We've hired several of our interns and given them an opportunity to work with us. So, but I really wanted to bring people in from the outside and train them from the ground up. And that is definitely the less tried and true way to do things. And I will get more into that on it. That's a whole nother podcast. That's probably broken up into like 5 different ones, but not that, it's just, there's a lot of things, nuances and, a lot of our team had never even done sales.
Well, me being one, I had no idea. I was like, what is this that you guys are doing? Didn't have any idea that this was a specific job. And so I'm one that's come from outside of the industry and I was molded and shaped in the W3 way. Mm-hmm. But, it just goes back to that, not being Bob, doing it in a totally different way and a fresh approach.
Right. Right. And, and then I end up with people, like Traci, who has been, by my side in Dallas and, she has helped develop who we are today, our culture, along with Kevin and, the other people on our team. And it's been really, really fun and very rewarding. And so, and we've had people come on board and this just wasn't for them. And that's okay, but it's been really cool to just see like how people have grown in the industry and their relationships and, what their take on things and their approach. And I've learned, I've always learned, you're going to learn way more from other people than you can teach them, if you open yourself up. And so, and that's been like kind of the coolest part of all of this.
Very cool. We're literally side by side.
I know. We love each other.
Yeah. So
I love her.
I consider, Nancy a mentor and, she teaches.
You're a mentor to me.
So it's been really fun. And, I think for me, just seeing where we are today, just primed and poised for just kind of the next level of where this company is going to go. We'll talk so much more about, the different facets of it, specifically, but I'm excited. I think it's really cool that we're doing this podcast. Nancy's got so much a wealth of information to share, and I think it's going to be really fun. So with that, I'm going to ask you, we have to do it every time. You already gave me one confession from last time, but do you have a second confession that you'd like to share?
So many confessions.
Okay, well, give me one. We'll have another chance to do more. But
I have never in my life, everyone always asks me, do you like being a boss? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I have never had so many bosses in my life. So never in my life. And I've been very autonomous, in my career, and the fact that, I had a sales manager and a VP of sales, which the people that have mentored me and my VP of sales, Patrice Hagan and Dan Hinton and all the people in between. You guys have been Jeff Weiland and Pete Angenin has been incredible, mentors and leaders for me and taught me so, so much. And so, but it was a really straight line of communication.
Right.
I was here and I reported up through here. Mm-hmm. And, but now I serve my factories. My factories are numero uno, my people first. And I'll get to that. But we have factories. And so we have regionals at every single factory. And, we work for them. They're our bosses. They pay our paychecks. We also, and then we have our customers and just serving them well, and making sure we are delivering what we say we're going to do, and just bringing, again, a fresh new approach and being relevant. And that is, that's a lot. And making them look good for their bosses. That's our job, right? Is to make everyone look good for their mm-hmm. boss, and that's our job.
And I've said that probably 3 times this week to just different people mm-hmm. on our team. We work for our factories, mm-hmm. and we want to make you look good.
Mm-hmm.
It's really what we are driven to do.
Yeah.
So right.
And then, but most importantly, my, I work for my people. And so that work with me, alongside me. And so my stepdad is an incredible mentor. And I've already asked if he would be on the podcast, but he told me about a book called Servant Leadership. And it is about, the way that, Jesus served, and he cleaned people's feet. He was always last, he never, he didn't, lived a very simple, not, carry my stuff, people, as dramatic as I am, I'm not going to be like, oh, I lost something between, the tollway and George Bush, go find it for me. That's not me. And so I believe and, I don't ask anybody to do things that I won't do myself. And, and that is the spirit of our company, is that everyone is a team member, and we each have, and I've, we'll say it over and over again, we all have different strengths, and we all help each other out to accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish. And, I just, we don't watch somebody, breaking their back, and I'm sitting here eating cookies and brownies. I might after, but
we like cookies and brownies. There is a time for that.
Yeah. Yes, always. But and so it's just, I think that has been something that I've been exploring. And another thing I want to add too is I mentioned it before, but just really being what we are on the outside. What you see outside is the same as inside. So that, and what you see from the inside, did I say that right? What you see from the inside is what you see from the out. What you see from the out is the same as you see at the in, right? So there's no fakery here. There's good infrastructure.
What you get is what you see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. That
what you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get. And also, there's the iceberg thing too. There's a lot underneath to accomplish all of that, to get to the final product of what you actually see. But, we want to be, building a culture and an organization that does what they say they're going to do, so that at night, because I can't sleep at night, so I need as much assurance that W3 has done the very best we can, and I can go to bed at night and saying, you know what, our team rocks. And I can say that every night, and they put 100 and billion% into everything they do. And I'm just very, very thankful for my team. So it's not me. And you know what? If it's about you, and only you, like, I just encourage you to, like, tap into the resources around you and listen to their ideas, whether they be, right out of school, or maybe it's an intern, to the person that has been, is on the way out. They have tons of wisdom. So, again, it's just being not afraid to ask for help, not being afraid to ask questions, on how to do things, not being too proud. I'm a very, pride is something I struggle with, and asking for help. I don't know how to do this, so those are all things that, there's lots more to uncover and unpack. And it would be hours if I told you how it all, really began and got going. But a good business plan, how you're going to differentiate yourself, and, just setting up a really good support system around you is definitely the key. And good partnerships. So
thank you so much for sharing so much of your story.
Thank you, Traci. I can't wait to interview you. I'm so excited. Coming soon. And yeah, so thanks so much. We've had a crazy week, so I think we should bust out some bubbly now.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks.
For more inspiration, follow our social media at W3 Sales. Please like, comment, and subscribe. All the things. We would love to connect with you.